Good morning and welcome to our business show. I am your host Sharon Musal. Today, we focus on developing international issue that is bound to have far-reaching implications both at home and abroad. Following the elections of Donald Trump as President of the United States, his administration has announced strict immigration policies, including the deportation of all illegal immigrants currently living and working in America. Among those affected are over 1,000 Kenyans who now face the uncertainty of forced return. Additionally, the US government has cut financial aid to several developing countries, Kenya included. The move has sparked widespread debate about its economic and social consequences. To help us unpack what this means for Kenya and the global economy, I had a chance to have an interview or rather a conversation with an economist, Levi, who shared his opinions about the current story.
Today, our cities are flooded with illegal aliens. Americans are being squeezed out of the labor force and their jobs are taken. By the way, you know who's taking the jobs that are created? 107% of those jobs are taken by illegal aliens. And you know who's being hurt the most by millions of people pouring into our country? The black population and the Hispanic population, because they're taking the jobs from our black population, our Hispanic population, and they're also taking them from unions. The unions are suffering because of it. Thank you. Thank you. I like you too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Today I'll be discussing the implications of President Donald Trump's policies on deporting illegal immigrants working and living in the US. First, we'll have a look at the background on the policies. Donald Trump's administration, in its second term, has pursued aggressive immigration policies, including mass deportations, and has implemented significant cuts to foreign aid. These policies, as outlined in various reports, include plans for large-scale deportation, affecting undocumented immigrants, and a freeze on foreign aid, impacting programs managed by agencies like USAID. For Kenya, these policies are particularly relevant given the mention of over 1,000 Kenyans who are likely to be deported and the country's reliance on US aid for health and development. On economic implications for Kenya, the deportation of over 1,000 Kenyans from the US will likely reduce remittances, a critical economic lifeline for many Kenyan families. Remittances from the diaspora, as noted in the World Bank data, often exceed foreign direct investment and support essential expenses like education and healthcare. A reduction in these flows could strain household incomes, leading to decreased consumer spending and potential slowdown in local economic activities. For instance, if deported individuals were previously contributing to remittances, their return could exacerbate poverty levels, particularly in rural areas heavily dependent on these funds. Additionally, the loss of skilled or working-age Kenyans could affect the long-term human capital development in Kenya, as their contributions to the U.S. economy and subsequent remittances will cease. This aligns with the findings from the KFF reports, which highlights that mass deportation could disrupt economic ties through reduced financial flows to countries of origin. Cutting U.S. financial aid will have direct and severe consequences for Kenya, particularly in health and food security. The U.S. has historically been a major donor through programs like PEPFAR, which funds HIV and AIDS treatment, and the World Food Program, which supports refugees. According to the Better World campaign, funding cuts have already forced World Food Program to halve rations for Kenyan refugees, exacerbating food insecurity amid drought and conflict. A report by UN Geneva has highlighted that cuts to UN aid programs have led to the termination of over 1,952 doctors, 1,234 nurses, and 918 technical management staff in Kenya, estimating to 6.3 million additional AIDS-related deaths over 4 years. These cuts undermine Kenya's healthcare system, potentially increasing mortality rates and reducing economic productivity due to a less healthy workforce. Moreover, Kenya's reliance on US aid for development projects such as infrastructure and governance could be compromised, affecting long-term economic growth. An ISS Africa report noted Kenya as a leading recipient of US non-humanitarian aid with over $512 million in 2024 and suggested that aid cuts could increase vulnerability due to extremism and human rights abuses. On global economic implication, mass deportations as proposed by Trump could lead to a significant labor shortage in the US, particularly in sectors like agriculture, construction, and healthcare, where undocumented immigrants are a substantial workforce. A Brookings Institution analysis indicated that removing 7.5 million workers could shrink the US labor force, thereby lowering the gross domestic product growth and disrupting supply chains. This could, however, increase the costs for goods and services, potentially affecting trade with dependent countries. For countries such as Mexico and Honduras, which rely heavily on remittances, deportation will reduce financial inflows, increase poverty and economic instability. The KFF report noted that over 860,000 temporary protected status holders could be affected, contributing to family separations and economic impacts in their home countries. While Kenya is less reliant on remittances compared to these countries, any reduction will still be felt, particularly in households dependent on diaspora income. Globally, cutting US foreign aid will disrupt health, education, and infrastructure programs in low and middle-income countries. The KFF analysis highlighted that the Trump administration's aid freeze has shattered global health programs, risking increased mortality from diseases like HIV, tuberculosis, and malaria. For instance, the Better World Campaign reported that funding cuts have halted World Food Program targeting child malnutrition in Afghanistan, Syria, and Yemen, and halved rations for refugees in Kenya, among other countries. The Africa report detailed that Trump's aid cuts have terminated 5,341 foreign aid projects with significant impacts in Africa, including Kenya, where a total of $224.7 million was cut, making it a total of 46% of total aid cut. This could create a vacuum for other global powers such as China to expand influence. The Better World Campaign noted that China's Belt and Road Initiative, with over $1 trillion invested, includes projects like railways in Kenya and ports in Djibouti, positioning China as a potential alternative partner. As seen in reports from Brookings and KFF, these policies could slow US economic growth and increase global instability. However, the Kenyan Treasury Cabinet Secretary John Mbadi suggests that US policy stability across administrations might help mitigate impacts, while other Kenyan MPs like Caleb Amisi argued that these policies could force Kenya to reduce reliance on Western aid. In summary, Trump's policies on deporting illegal immigrants and cutting financial aid will likely have significant economic implications for Kenya, including reduced remittances, strained health and food security, and potential shifts in global influence. Globally, these policies could lead to labor shortages, increased instability in aid-dependent countries, and a reorientation of geopolitical dynamics with long-term effects of economic growth and international relations.
Thank you so much, our economist Levy, for shedding light on these pressing issues. It is actually clear that although policy changes are a matter of American domestic governance, their ripple effects are felt far beyond its borders, including here in Kenya. As the country prepares to welcome back its citizens and navigate the challenges of reduced aid, stakeholders in both public and private sector will need to re-strategize on how to cushion the economy from this shock. We'll continue to follow this developing story and its implication in the days ahead. From all of us here at the Business Segment Show, thank you for watching and have a good day ahead.